Welcome back to the channel. If you haven't been here before, my name's Lee. Okay, I want to talk about the Daily Show with Trevor Noah, which I think should be renamed as the Propaganda Show with Trevor Noah. Now, at the time of this video I'm making, it's actually received 1.2 million views on YouTube, and that's pretty concerning. Trevor Noah's kind of a comedian, but this particular video where he's talking about China and Africa is literally a piece of US government propaganda. And if you follow any of this, you'll know that China have a project called Belt and Road, which they've expanded a lot of infrastructure into Africa. And in this show, he talks about this. But the danger is, because he's a comedian and he has such a large reach, a majority of the public will just accept this as fact, and basically none of it is fact. And if you look at the accusations he's making, which are the same accusations as that pretty much all mainstream media make, it's just outright lies. And there's a professor at Hopkins University, Deborah Brautigam, and her team have done extensive research into this, what the West call debt trap diplomacy by China into their expansion into Africa. And she's actually debunked pretty much everything Western media have said. And Trevor Noah on his Daily Show brought up all these points. So one of the points he brought up is that China will take back infrastructure if African countries don't pay, and that's strictly not true. He cites the port in Sri Lanka that China took ownership of. And now again, if you read Deborah's work, it shows that wasn't a straightforward case, and it's much more complicated than just China taking it back. Now, apart from that, China have not seized any other infrastructure at all in any countries, and they've actually given debt restructuring to sort of 19 different loans in those countries. So this is the first thing. Then Trevor brings up the point that, China is just shipping all their own workers. Now, one part of that is actually true. So if you look at the more skilled jobs, engineers, technicians and managers in some cases, then yes, China do send in their own people. And that's for a couple of reasons. One is to train some of the African personnel there. And two is because Africa doesn't have enough sometimes of those skills that are required. So China obviously have to send in their own people. But if you look at a majority of the sort of lower skilled workers, generally a large percentage of those will be local workers. And again, Deborah Brautigam has highlighted that in all her work. I will put links to her work in the video description. And the other thing you've got to remember is that the amount of African people who come to study in Chinese universities, so China are helping those African countries immensely. But the point of all this is that China, for many years, the West have had the opportunity to help Africa 40 or 50 years, and they haven't. They've generally gone into the countries, they've done deals so their corporate entities can extract as much as possible, and they've given very little back. Well, all of a sudden, in the last 10 years, Africa have had an alternative, and increasingly, they've turned to that alternative being China. They've gone in, and yes, they have done deals for resources and minerals, of course they have. But in return for that, they're building infrastructure for the African countries and the African people. Now that will have, the benefit of giving them things that they need, infrastructure, to build their economies, to provide a better economy for them, and to ultimately give the people of Africa a better standard of living, something which the West never did. So, it's not surprising that these African countries are wanting to work with China instead of the West. And, recently the West have got nervous about this, and they've tried to sort of launch initiatives of their own, but they haven't really got very far with them at the moment, because it's as if Africa don't trust the West anymore, especially the US. So you've got to look at it for what it is. Don't always believe the propaganda. Anyway, as I always say, don't just read the headlines. Do your research, check the facts. But as always, before I say as always for now, take care. Please leave in the comments what you think about this. But I really do think that it was absolutely outright propaganda. Maybe that the owners of The Daily Show are getting some of this $300 million of budget from the American state to hinder China. As you're probably aware, they announced earlier this year that they've allocated an extra $300 million a year to basically dish out to media to create stories to discredit China. So maybe the owners of The Daily Show are getting a chunk of that money. I don't know. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. As always, for now, take care.